Dita here. It's Wednesday, what date is it now? 11th, I think it is, of June, and we're here at 4:07. I'm doing well. Got the name of the street. We're here at New Farm, okay, and what we have happening is we're digging the holes for the stumps. Now, while we're doing this, of course, I found, as always, a discrepancy in the plan. We chased that up. We had the owner here yesterday. We're going through with the engineer and the owner today to double check everything, make sure we know what we're doing. But what happened is what happens a lot, unfortunately, is that and it's nobody's real fault, except that the architect does his measurements. Quite often he just does it off an old plan. He doesn't actually come out to the site and double check what's going on to do all the drawings. Then he sends that drawing to the engineer. Now the engineer, of course, doesn't come out to site. He does his engineering off the drawings. And this is Bowen Terrace, by the way, 407 Bowen Terrace, New Farm. So what happens is that the engineering is done off the drawings that the architect has given to the engineer, and because neither one of which have come out to have a look at the place and double check how the thing is built, especially when it comes, like, no problem on a brand new house, because you're starting from the ground up, and however they've got it designed, that's how you build it. But when it comes to an old house like this thing, well, this one's 100 years old, okay, maybe a little older. And when it comes to a house like this, of course, they're not all built the same. They all have different loadings, different ways of being built back then than what we have today. So it really requires, where possible, for the engineer to come out before he does the drawings. Most of the time it's not possible, but you know, they're not charging $25,000 for the drawings. You know, so what happens is that when you get to the job, there's a discrepancy. So if you're an owner builder, or any of the builders there, or any of the owners who are getting builders to do the jobs, do understand that the drawings are just a guideline. Okay, they're not gospel. Alright, drawings on a house like this. It's a beautiful house, it's great inside. If you can see, I don't know if you see in there, but in there, that's all veranda from there to there. It's all got VJ lining on the roof, all curved with the curved roofing. It's a beautiful job. It was a very expensive house in its day, and it will be again. But yeah, as we do this, if you have a look, now the engineer had under here pieces of steel going from front to back. Here we go. Now we have the original bearers here, which we've got to follow, and of course they don't all line up straight front to back. We're putting a stump there. We actually change that to a round timber stump, because it's only going to be 2 feet off the ground. It's all steel from there on. But here we have the bearer line. This is the load weight. This is where the roof load is on this particular one here. All the way down that bearer down there. You see that? That's the front wall. This is the front wall of the house, this particular bearer through here. Okay, going that way. Okay, that's the front wall. That's where we want to get load to stop bounce. Now, on the engineering, of course, we went from a post over there to a post in the middle just here, and then over past the edge of that concrete slab. But it doesn't, those beams aren't big enough to handle the load, so we've talked to the owner, because I just can't do it. Like, have a look here. I'll come back a bit. I can't fit a piece of steel onto that front piece of bearer. It just can't happen. And I've got to put a post under the front bearer. You know, so I can't do it. You can't bend the steel like that. And the next one's even worse. So we've changed it. We're putting posts directly underneath that load bearing wall, which is where it needs to be. And then stiffening this bearer with a piece of steel and bringing the posts back to where they were originally. Because along here, what we have is they built this garage for the block of units out the back, for the cars for this place. And of course, what I'm standing on right now is a heap of crushed concrete, gravel, big stuff, which is the drain. to keep the water away from that wall. Okay, that wall's 2 metres, this hole that I'm standing on is nearly 2 metres deep. Alright, and they've got a pipe down there to take away all the surface water. And then of course that's the edge of the bank. Now I can't put a stump there, okay? So our next stump is going to be where it was originally, over there. So we're a metre away from that bank. It's quite solid down there. You get down to 900 to a metre and you're hitting a soft rock. So it's not going to go anywhere. It's quite solid. It's all been backfilled with the rock, so it's all holding all the pressure again. So no hassles. But once again, we have the same thing happening at the back as what we do at the front. Is the load-bearing wall, which is that one right there. That goes up to the roof. That holds the roof. The rest out there, as you see, the tin. That's the veranda at the back. And again, the steel beam or post wasn't under that load-bearing wall, and it's only a little 125C channel, so it just isn't able to handle the load that's going to come off of that. So what we've done is talk to the owner and did some talking, and of course let them know exactly where the problems are and where it should go, and he's in agreement, of course, because it's only common sense to put them back where they are under that load-bearing wall to stop the bounce. Because although it's not a real heavy building, if that isn't held directly under that load-bearing wall, of course as people walk across it, it's going to bounce. There's no real choice in it unless they stiffen the steel beam. And if you make a bigger steel beam, you might as well put a post in there, it's cheaper. So yes, we've got an extra row of stumps going at the back, and by the time we reduce the length of the steel that's required on the job, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the refund on the quote on the steel actually pays for the extra row of stumps. So it isn't actually costing much more, if any, to do, because we shortened both front and back. Changed, not so much changed, but adapted the plans to suit the house rather than trying to get the house to suit the plans, which is too expensive. So that's what we're doing. So as you do your buildings, when you get them designed, and you start hitting hiccups with architects and engineers, do understand when the builder goes through it with you that all the stuff, all the drawings, yes, especially when it comes to the older buildings, they're not gospel. It's not what has to happen, just as long as what happens is engineered to do what it's supposed to do, and all approved by the engineer, and does it all right, then it's fine. What you've got through council is good enough. That's up to them. All council wants is your engineer's certificates to say that the house is done correctly. That doesn't mean it's done exactly the way it is on the plan. Never is. Okay, it just means that it's done correctly. And the engineer will do his Form 16, which is what we have here in Brisbane, Form 16, which is the final on the engineering on each part of the construction. And the engineer does that. He has to come out and actually inspect it. So what we have, as I said, we have the engineer and the owner coming here later on today, so we can have a chat with them and of course get the engineer's permission and to make a bit of sense. You know, it's only common sense to put the stumps back where they were, especially when you don't need to put them anywhere else. This house at the moment is up high enough so we can dig the holes. It actually goes down to original height, almost original height, which is that stump down there. That's the original concrete stump. Okay, you can see how far we are above. We're 3 feet above that. We've got to come down. Of course, trying to dig a hole at that height off the ground, which at that end of the house is only 1'6" off the ground. You know, it's near impossible to dig a hole effectively. So since they had to slide it, we've got it up high enough to do all that. We'll leave it up there so we can dig the holes, and we'll set posts and have it all ready, and then drop the house down, which gets done next week, hopefully. As long as the rain holds up. It's supposed to rain today yet, and it's supposed to pour down tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. We've had 1 day digging so far. We're doing okay. We'll see how we go. I want to try and finish the digging tomorrow if we can. So I'll put the stumps in next week. But yes, when it comes to architecturals and engineering, especially on an older house, do remember that it is a guide. It is there to help you build the house, help the builder build the house, and help all the contractors build the house, so they have a guide to go by. But on the older houses, on any house, you can change it. It is not gospel. You don't have to leave it the way it is on the plan. The plan has gone through council, it's been approved, so you're allowed to do the structure. The walls inside you can change in most cases. Of course, you have to talk to the architect and engineer to make that happen. But yes, to get a better job for yourself, do not feel obliged that what's on the drawing is gospel, that you have to go by it. There is no changing. If you're the owner, you are paying for the damn thing. So you are allowed to change it. Okay, if it needs to go back through council for an amendment, so be it. But in most cases, little changes, walls, stubs, that sort of thing, are no real problem, especially if we can get a better job for your dollar, which is what it's all about. Making the job suit, making the job better, to give you what you want. Most people don't understand what you exactly want on the building. So of course they're not going to understand exactly how you want it. They will design it, they will build it, will draw it, and you will approve what you think is close. But of course, until you actually talk to the builder and give your opinions to the builder, and then he looks at the drawings and sees whether they're the same as what you're actually wanting. If they are, great. If they aren't, he is able to change that. And some of the contractors along the way, if they think there's a better way of doing something to give you a better job, to give you a better functionality, to make the building or the cupboards, the shelves, the walls, the rooms, to make them work for you and give you what you are actually chasing, give you a better, as I said, better functionality, make it look better, feel better, then of course go with it. Right? Especially if it doesn't cost any more, or only a few dollars more to get what you want rather than what you've got. It's no problem. You are allowed to change the plans. Alright, that's my say on this one. As I've said before, 90%, quite often, I mean lots of times, I walk on site and we change the plans all the time. Like, we're in the footings, we're in the basic structure of the house, we're there to hold it up. And if we see something wrong, something that doesn't work properly or can be made better at very little extra cost, we will let you know. It's just a case of getting it right, because there's nothing worse than coming back and finding out you've done it wrong. Once you've done it wrong, it's that way for a long time. So yes, check with your contractors, the builders, with your engineer, with your architect, if there are things that need changing. Most of them are very helpful to change, because they've only had a few conversations with you. They don't know exactly what you want. They're only doing what they feel you're wanting, what you're needing. And if there's a better way of doing it, or you're looking to get better functionality, you can come up with it, or one of your contractors can come up with it, by all means, ask the architect, the engineer, let them know what's happening so they can sign off on it. Because that's all you need at the end, is all your certificates. As long as you get your certificates, it doesn't matter how it's built. As long as it's all done to standard. The plan, as I said, is just instructional. It's there to give you a guide, give everybody a guide, give people something to quote on, so you can get a rough idea how much it's going to cost you. But it is subject to change. Quite often the measurements aren't right. I've seen jobs where the plan is anything up to a metre bigger or smaller than what the actual building is. When it comes to doing renos. So yeah, things change all the time. Allow them to. There is no problem. You don't have to fret, don't have to panic. Change is inevitable. Things change all the time. So just make room for it, or allow for it. And of course the contractors do know what they're doing, and they will, in most cases, assist in making it better if you allow them to. Alright, that's my say on it. Catch you guys.